Hello, everyone. Welcome to the KimUnity Soulutions Podcast, where we create conversations that empower and inspire all those in the workplace and educational spaces to improve their relationships and environments. How do we do that? We do that by sharing real life experiences that unravels challenges that produce practical and unifying solutions. Look, we spend way too much time at work to be upset, to be angry, to not get along. It makes the day go by longer. We're not as productive. We're miserable, and we bring all of that energy home. So that's why you're tuned into this podcast, is how can we resolve issues at work that also resolves issues outside of those walls. So let's get into it. I am so glad to be back with you again today. We will be discussing intuition today. What do you think intuition is, or what does it mean to you? How does it impacted you? How have you felt it? Do you listen to it? Do you ignore it? How much weight do you put on your intuition? As always, I start with the definition. So even if we agree or disagree, we have a basis to start from, because everything in the dictionary I don't agree with. Okay. That's just who I am. So the Oxford Dictionary says that intuition is the ability to understand something immediately without the need of conscious reasoning. It also says knowing or consider likely based on instinctive feeling rather than conscious reasoning. Okay. So again, it's stressing the fact that it's not rational. It's not something that you rationalize. It's more something of a feeling. Okay. And then when you turn to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it describes intuition as the power or faculty of attaining to direct knowledge or cognition without evident rational thought or inference. So again, they are in agreement. It's saying that it's not evident. You're not using rational thought. You're not inferring anything. It's all based on feeling. Is that definition close to what you were thinking it was, or were you thinking something different? If you were, feel free to leave that in the comments, because again, I know that I don't always agree what is written. I do like to dig deeper and put my own thoughts, because anybody can write anything, right? So I'm not too dependent on what is written. It's always important to dig deeper. Okay. So let's get into it. So intuition, what does it feel like? What did it feel like to you? Do you always follow it? How much weight do you put on it? Where does it come from? So this is all that I'm going to be discussing today. And when I think of intuition, I'm thinking of a gut feeling. It's like an inner voice. Some people say they get chills or a feeling throughout their body. They get nervous. They get a tingling sensation. Or maybe it just comes across as a quick thought or a quick action. It's something that you do just spontaneously. So again, write in the comments how you believe you feel intuition. Some people also say that it's more of a clarity. It brings clarity. Maybe it's synchronicity or coincidence. However you want to define it, whatever you want to call it, you know that one time you had that experience and you didn't listen to it. Or maybe to the other extreme is you've had that experience and you listened to it and there was something that you've avoided. Because you listened to it, there was an experience that you avoided. It was your safety net. There's been plenty of times where, on both instances, that I felt something that was quick, but I didn't listen to it. Then there were also times where I did listen to it. For example, let's see, a time that I had the intuition, but I didn't listen to it, was when I went to go visit a family member. and I wanted to go get some coffee. It wasn't a good time to go get coffee. It was like in a medical environment, right? And so I was waiting for the doctor to come, to hear about, a result for my loved one. And they were just taking so long. And I was getting nervous, and I was working at the same time. I was working overnight, and I just needed a little pick me up. And so I wanted to go get this coffee. And something told me not to go get it. And so here I am debating on if I should go get this coffee because I didn't want to miss the doctor. Right? I wanted to make sure I was there for my loved one in case they needed anything. But I also was thinking at the same time, well, this would be a great time for me to go because nobody's in here. So what did I do? I went ahead and I left. It was right across the street. The coffee place was right across the street. So I got in the car. I was at the signal light in the parking lot. And all I had to do was cross the street to get to the McDonald's to get my mocha frappe. I don't know if y'all ever had the mocha frappe. I don't drink it anymore. But as soon as the light turned green, it's like, okay, I'm going. The light turned green. I started driving. Next thing you know, I'm hit. I'm hit at the intersection right across from the hospital where I already was and the McDonald's where I was trying to get the coffee. And I was like, something told me not to go get this coffee. I'm thinking it's something else, right? For a whole nother reason, but I should have been there. I should have stayed where I was. That was my intuition telling me to stay my butt there, right? So I'm not sure if you all have had an experience like that where you did not listen to it. You went somewhere that you already didn't have a good feeling about, or maybe you gave somebody your number that you shouldn't have, or you went down the wrong street. Just something about it didn't feel right. And maybe you still proceeded, or maybe it encouraged you to turn around. There was a time not too long ago where I took my kids to a concert out of state. And the concert was at nighttime. The hotel was close to the concert venue. And when I looked it up, it said it was only 15 minutes away. Walking, right? And so we had the car valeted, and I'm thinking, okay, yes, we're going to walk there instead of having the car pulled, having to get to the venue, find parking, maybe pay for parking, and then have to do the same thing when we get back. So we're just going to walk. Okay. So we got dressed, we left. It was already dark. And as we're walking, I could see that there's multiple ways to get to this venue because it's big. It's like in the middle of several streets. The first street that we crossed, we could have gotten there, but something in my instinct, right, told me not to go that way. Now, I don't know what was down there, or I didn't really rationalize it, but we kept walking. So that's another instance of just following your intuition. Sometimes we're following it and don't even know it, I believe. We're just making that decision, okay, without any rational knowledge or any thought, any discernment or anything like that. We're just going that way because that's what feels right. And when you think about it, that's what makes intuition so important, because it helps with our decision making. It helps with our problem solving. And it helps us just navigate life itself. It gives us that feeling. And like I said before, that when people talk about intuition, they're saying that it gives them a feeling of maybe of nervousness or a tingling sensation. Maybe their stomach gets to acting funny, or there's an inner voice that you hear. So there's always something that's telling us, and it requires quietness in order to hear it sometimes, because there are people out there who just stay busy. They just stay busy. It's hard for them to sit still. And I really feel that in order to get familiar with that inner voice and with your intuition, you need that quiet time. It's like you got to get to know each other. You have to be able to listen to that and let it be your guide. And so that's why intuition is part of the formula, I believe, for unity, for us to all to get together. And so I'll talk about that in a minute. The last episode that I had was about karma. So I'm going in order in relation to the formula for KimUnity Solution, like what makes up a solution. And if you are new to this channel, a solution is not just an answer, but a resolution that has souls in mind. There's so many decisions being made right now that don't have souls in mind. It's all about money. They have money in mind and not souls. So you go different routes. There's different paths that you take when you are solving a problem. And most of them these days are not mutually beneficial. So the shirt I have on now, it says, I'm about solutions, solutions with souls in mind. And that is what this podcast is about. It's about helping everyone realize, okay, I need to make better decisions. I want decisions that will better impact my family, the people around me, and the world in totality, right? Because every decision we make is like the butterfly effect. It affects something else. So I really want everyone to be more mindful and aware of the decisions that they're making and putting themselves in the other person's shoes. Would you accept that? Would you want your parents to accept this kind of offer, or whatever you're selling, whatever kind of agreements you're making, however you're treating people? Is that what you would want in return? Is that what you would want your loved one to experience? Okay, so right now we're on the second variable, which is intuition. And so that's what we're talking about today. Now you may be thinking like, okay, Kim, you've discussed what intuition is, but what about logic? Isn't intuition logic? Isn't the example that you provided, weren't you thinking about it? Isn't that logic? And I would say, no, the examples that I did provide, they were not logic. It was more intuition. Logic is when you are analyzing, is when you are putting multiple thoughts together and trying to make the best decision of what's at hand. Okay, you're contemplating. Where as I discussed, intuition is more of a quick response. It's not involving any type of reasoning. Okay, logic is involving reasoning. So that's how I determine what's intuition and what's logic. Now there's a whole nother realm that I'll get to towards the end, which is discernment. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. Now I've given you examples about using intuition in our personal lives, but what about the workplace? How can we use intuition in the workplace? How have you used intuition in the workplace? What has it warned you of? What has it prevented you from doing, or gave you any type of insight unknowingly? I looked it up because I've relied on intuition in the workplace. It was very helpful for me, actually. But as I researched intuition in the workplace, I found an article, and it's by Business Horizons, right? And it talks about 4 different types of intuition that managers can use in the workplace. And I found that very interesting. Now, as I was reading it, like I said, they are prefacing it on managers, and I don't see why all employees can't apply it, can't use it, can't find it beneficial for them. Okay, so while they are pointing to management, I'm saying this would be beneficial to everyone. Okay, so what are those 4 types of intuition that it can be used in the workplace or is used in the workplace? The first is expert intuition. So this article says managers at all levels need to use appropriate intuition balanced with analytical thinking to create and capture opportunities. And I thought that was really good because it's good to have both, because when I use my intuition, it's instant, right? But sometimes you have free time to think about what just crossed your mind. You have free time to analyze, okay, that was the thought. I felt something. And then what are you going to do with it? So by this article talking about how managers can use appropriate intuition balanced with analytical thinking to create and capture opportunities, I said, I really like this. I really like how they have thought this out. And I do believe it can be used for everyone in the workplace. Okay, so like I said, the first type is expert intuition. And what it says is, it is based on previous experience. So you're using your intuition, but it's also bouncing off of what's happened before. For example, have you ever found yourself in a position that seems familiar? Like maybe you had an issue with a coworker at your last job and they were asking you, no, let's put it like this. At your last job, you were being micromanaged. You were sitting down at your desk and your manager would always come over and see what you're working on, or kind of peek at your work or at your computer, or try to have, small talk at your conversation where really they are analyzing what you're doing. Okay, micromanagement. And so now you're at a new job and then a manager comes over and they're doing the same thing. It appears they're doing the same thing. They may be coming over to chat, but it doesn't mean that they're micromanaging. So your first thought, your first feeling is, I'm going through the same thing I went through at my last job. But really, this is intuition based on experience. Okay, it's you have this feeling, but it's based off of a prior experience. So I like how it breaks it down, because we were just talking about how intuition is different than logic. Okay, and this is a combination of both. So the creative intuition, it says, is based on a sense of direction for a novel solution. So when you are in the workplace and you are trying to make the best decision and something is telling you to go this way would be better. So again, you're combining your intuition with your logic, and that is considered creative intuition. Okay. And then the third is social intuition. Social intuition is based on your interpersonal relationships. So it may be like the same thing when I said about your previous experience, but now it's dealing with specifically with people, with your relationships. I know that I can say that there was someone that I didn't really vibe well with in the workplace, right? And I remember that demeanor. I remember the charisma and all of that. That was a facade that covered up something else. Okay, I'll just put it out there like that. That's the best way that I can explain it. Let me know in the comments if you have experienced that, where someone is so cheerful and they're charismatic and they're in everybody's faces, but then on the other side they just dirty and evil and cruel and lying and all that other stuff. But anyway, I just remembered that personality. And then I go somewhere else. I'm in a totally different environment. It could be just in my personal life. And I run into somebody and then I feel that same energy. I would say that is what they're saying about social intuition. If you have that gut feeling, it's something in there, and it's involving interpersonal relationships. Okay, so this is why I thought this was really good. It's something it's new to me, and I'm glad I found it, and I can provide examples for each of these. Okay, the next one is temporal intuition, and it says that the temporal intuition is the right timing for the opportunity. So that kind of goes hand in hand with the creative process of finding a solution, but this has to do with the timing of it. Okay, you can apply this to the best time to go to management and say you need a raise. Like you've already had that on your mind. And then maybe you walk by their desk and you can see by their positioning that this isn't a good time. I don't feel this is a good time. Something about right now. So I would say that is temporal. It's about the right timing for the opportunity, because timing is very important. Whenever you're trying to have an important conversation, timing is critical. Do you think that you can apply any of these, or have you applied any of these in the workplace? As management, as upper level, as executive, as C-suite, all of these, and staff level. This can be applied and useful and beneficial to everyone in the workplace. And so, and not only is it useful, I believe that we automatically do it anyway. You may just not have known of the term for it, that there was even such a thing. So that's why I really like researching and sharing what I've learned with you all, because I'm learning at the same time. I'm not coming on here acting like I'm an expert. Again, my name is Kim the SME, and that stands for Speaker of My Experiences. But when I was given that title, I was given SME in the workplace. And that was because I had to get up and speak in front of management. And I was given this position where I had to speak every week. I believe it was like on a Monday or Tuesday to management, expressing how to process credit cards and all of that. I was in the accounting department, and we were having a lot of issues with chargebacks. You know, that's when customers charge a credit card and then dispute it later based on multiple reasons. And so I would stand up there and tell them and inform them the best way to prevent it, how to dispute it, and what information should be collected, what should not be collected due to PCI compliance. So there were a lot of tips and tricks that I was presenting to them to save the company money and to satisfy the customer as well. I was nervous at first. So I had just gotten the position and I was nervous. And then I spoke to my manager about it, and she was like the best manager. She came after, like, I had to go through a lot to get this manager. Okay. If you listen to my previous episodes, you'll hear all of the stories. But she sat me down and she said, Kim, there's no reason for you to be nervous. You are the SME. You are the subject matter expert. And at that moment, you know, it clicked, and I knew that she was right. And I knew that there was nothing for me to fear because I am the one that had the information. Right. And so I said, I am the SME, but now I have turned that around and said that now I am the speaker of my experiences, because when I got there and spoke to them, I felt something deep within me. Like, I need to be speaking. I need to be changing people's lives. I need to be empowering those in the workplace, that you don't have to put up with everything. You don't have to agree with everything. You don't have to do everything that you're told. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory way or in a, I don't know the word that I'm looking for. Disrespectful. That's not really the word, but in a disrespectful way. But I am saying that it is okay to have standards. It is okay to have your own code of conduct, your own code of ethics, your own values. Because yes, you've hired me, but I will not devalue my values to meet yours. I will not decrease to meet your values. No, I'm going to elevate here. This is where I work at. This is my realm. And so anything below that, I'm unable to do. Okay. So again, I am Kim, the SME. I am the speaker of my experiences. Now, I found some quotes that I wanted to share with you. And I like quotes because it makes me think deeper. It makes me put myself in their shoes. it makes it relative, like I can relate to it. And it can be used as a guide. And a lot of the quotes that I use are coming from years and years, decades prior to, right? So this one says, trust your hunches. They're usually based on facts, filed away just below the conscious level. So it's telling us, trust your hunches. They're usually based on facts filed away just below the conscious level. So there is something factual to it, but you don't really know it. But in your subconscious, it's there. There's a guide that's telling you that there's something you don't know, but let me share with you, not the information, but that you need to make a left instead of a right. Okay. Now this quote is by Joyce Brothers, and she's a psychologist. She's a psychologist, or was a psychologist. I can't remember the age. I didn't write that down. The next quote is, intuition is the wisdom formed by feeling and instinct, a gift of knowing without reasoning. I read her book a few months ago, Florence Scovel Shinn. I read actually all 5 of them. I bought the collection, and that's a book that I always keep close. Intuition is the wisdom. So she is saying intuition is wisdom. That's major for me. Intuition is wisdom formed by feeling and instinct. So again, it's feeling and instinct. It's that gut push or pull. It's important to have. I tell you this, I'd rather have it than not. Okay. She says it's a gift of knowing without reasoning. Trust yourself. You know more than you think you do. That's by Dr. Benjamin Spock. Trust yourself. So the intuition is part of you. You know more than you think you do. So we have so much more knowledge that is within us that we have yet to tap into. And so that intuition is a piece of that wisdom that is saying, hey, I'm here. Listen to me. I love that, love that, love that. Let me know which one of these quotes touches you, or you can relate to, or it's something you hadn't thought of. It's something new to you, or even if you disagree with it, because we're all about perspectives here. We're all about perspectives. Now, getting back to the workplace, this same article that I read to you about the 4 types of intuition by the Business Horizons, it also talked about AI, and this was several years ago. AI wasn't as prevalent as it is now, right? And this article is saying that AI is great, but it also needs that human element to it. And I know they're working on it, and they're going to come up with something. And I know it's going to be, a little biased at first, incorrect. There's a disclaimer at the bottom that already says that, it's already inaccurate and possibly inaccurate, and to verify your information, right? So everyone's talking about it in all the articles. And even if you pull it up, it will tell you, hey, don't heavily rely on this just yet. So this article says, using all data over judgment and intuition hampers strategic decision making. So if you are in the workplace, AI is great. It's a great tool to use, but just using all data and not using judgment, it will hamper your decision making process, because all of those elements are not within AI as of yet. I would like to say it never will be, but the way technology and science is going and evolving, and it's really helpful for a lot of people, right? But there can be some negative aspects for it as well. But there is an evolution with this artificial intelligence and the impact that it's having on the technology industry, right? But again, not just data, we need to use judgment. We need to use judgment. Now, just as I have discussed all of the pros of intuition, right? It helps us with safety. It warns us. It guides us. It helps with creativity. It gives us inspiration. It helps us emotionally. Just as there are positive aspects to intuition, there are also some negative aspects of it. It's not 100%. It's not truly defined. We don't have a true definition or location for it. We don't always know, hey, is this my intuition? So those are some of the negative aspects of it, because when do you rely on it and when do you not? Or is that even intuition? Is that based on a prior experience as the expert intuition that I referred to earlier? Another way intuition isn't well is because if you're not in a good state of mind, if your current state of mind is bad or flawed or biased, listening to your intuition isn't good, right? For example, let's say if you're a flat out racist, I'm just going to throw that out because that's the first thing that came up. If you're just a flat out racist, you're already biased. So if you see someone from, that other race, then you're automatically going to have something within you that you're going to have that feeling, and you're going to say that's your intuition, but you're starting off on a totally different frequency, right? So that is another way that listening to your intuition is not a good idea. It's already flawed from the jump. It's not based on neutrality, positivity, or anything like that, because the scale is already tilted. And again, I'm just speaking from what I thought in my head, like, nah, intuition would not work in this. I wouldn't want them to rely on their intuition, or a bad mental state, or making decisions. Even when we make decisions when we're mourning, right? Let's say you've lost a loved one. You shouldn't rely too much on your intuition, because that state of mind is already off. That's why they say don't make any major financial decisions when you are emotionally charged, because you may not feel the same way once you're back to a normal state, once you're back to a neutral state, or a state where you can actually make rational decisions, right? How else do you think intuition can be a negative experience or a negative tool? It can be a negative tool if you just want something so bad that you just say, my intuition is telling me to do this. My intuition is telling me, you're making decisions because you want to, and you're blaming it on your intuition, but really it's something that you want to do. Like you're already biased on that. Just as in that example, you're overzealous, it can be that it's just misinterpreted. No, that wasn't your intuition. That wasn't you're taking a direction, you're taking a step in this direction, and that's not based on intuition. It's something else. So just as there are pros to that, there are cons to intuition. And then you may say, from what I stated earlier, is that it's part of my formula for making the best decision. What I am saying is that is a variable, and not to just rely on intuition. The entire formula is karma, right? Treat others how you want to be treated. Intuition, listen to that gut feeling, that prompting, and mindfulness, understanding that everybody doesn't have the same lived and unlived experiences. So putting all three of those together, that's how we come up to a solution. When we take souls in mind, when we actually take people in mind. Can you think of any examples or any laws or any of your own experiences or any contracts you've signed or any deals that you've made where, yes, you did it, but it wasn't mutually beneficial? Maybe you're the one that's offering it and maybe you're the recipient. So I really want everyone to think about that, is be the solution. You have the power. And inside the workplace, you have the power. We can't expect all change to come from the top. And I believe that I had to go through all my trials and tribulations so that I can come out of it and say, hey, you don't have to do this either. That's why I'm speaking on my experiences. And most of the time, guess what? The top doesn't even know what's going on. They don't know you have a sorry manager. That manager is not reporting back to them like, oh, I'm doing a horrible job. Right? They're saying that they're doing great and they're putting in words for you. Okay, so not all companies are bad. I'm not saying that. I know a lot of people who've had great managers who are great managers. I have had some great managers. I've worked for some great companies. But there are those that are not leaders. And there are those that can't lead a leader. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. The last thing that I wanted to talk to you about is the last, what should I say? Well, it's not intuition because we discussed that. We've talked about logic, but on the other spectrum of that is discernment. Kim, what is the difference between intuition and logic? I already discussed that, right? Intuition is something that is automatic. It is immediate. It is a feeling. Logic is using knowledge, using and basing it off of different facts or multiple facts or multiple sources. It's giving yourself time to think about something and rationalize something. Discernment, and I'll end with this. Discernment is God-given. And I know everybody on my page are not believers, and that's okay. I'm glad you're here, and this podcast is for everyone, regardless of your race, your religion, your income, and all that. All I'm saying is discernment is God-given. It's something in you that says, that's not a good idea. It's not something that's always automatic, but it's something in there. Yes, it's a gut feeling, but it's also I'll say a spiritual knowledge that that's not right. And I would say that it is coupled with fact or feeling. Have you used your discernment? How often do you use your discernment? Do you have it, or do you think it's just intuition? That's why I have intuition as the variable of my formula and not discernment, because I know everyone are not, Christians or believers. I know there's so many different aspects of religion. Like, let's just start with the common ground that we all can get on the same page of, right? Karma, I'm not talking about it on a spiritual level. It's more moral. Intuition, I'm not talking about it on a spiritual level. I don't have to teach you spirituality or religion. I'd rather you look at me and see what I do. I'm not going to talk about or get you to persuade you to Christianity. You would see that by my actions. Okay? But what I am saying is that discernment is God-given. And there was a quote, I don't think I have it right now, that I had just heard what discernment was, but this is Darius Daniels. He said, biblical discernment is the God-given ability to assess the true nature of an individual or an opportunity and to govern yourself accordingly. I'll repeat that for you. Biblical discernment is the God-given ability to assess the true nature of an individual or opportunity and to govern yourself accordingly. I hope that helps you understand what I was trying to say with the difference between intuition, logic, and discernment. Discernment has that extra oomph to it. And you are assessing the situation. So it's not like I was saying intuition was. The ability to assess the true nature of an individual or an opportunity and to govern yourself accordingly. I hope you have learned something today regarding intuition. I hope it has sparked something in you. I hope it's a conversation you'll have with someone else. I hope that this conversation encourages you to find that quiet space, to listen to your intuition, to follow it. It could just be your guide. It is your guide. I hope you use your intuition as your guide along with all of the other variables. It's there for a reason, intuition, not just in your personal life, but also your professional life. It's your helper. I hope you have enjoyed this episode as much as I have. When I was researching this topic and all of the different elements regarding workplace, I found it very interesting. I hope you did as well. And I hope you incorporate it in your daily lives. I hope that when you begin to use AI or any type of data, it doesn't have to be AI, but also use judgment. Let's not just rely on numbers, because the numbers tell a story and it's up to us to interpret it using our critical thought and our judgment. I hope you all have enjoyed this episode. I am Kim the SME. You have been tuned in to KimUnity Soulutions Podcast, and I hope you will meet me here again next week. You all have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, and God bless.